Hello, my name is Moni.Brown. I'm an advocate for DCARA headquarters office. I'm going to explain today what the Real Driver's License, Real ID, is all about. I'll explain the agenda here, what we're going to be doing. First, we'll talk about the extended deadline, the Real Driver's License, what the difference is with a regular ID and the Real ID, why you must have the Real ID. I'll show you the application process and accessibility. The Real ID deadline was supposed to be October 1st, 2021. It's now been extended to May 3rd, 2023, so there's time for you to apply for your Real ID. The history behind the driver's license and ID: it's issued by the states, and the rules are not all the same. Each state has its own rules and criteria. The ID could be horizontal or vertical. It will look different on the front and back. Each state requires you to have full information: your name, address, birth date, and there is no national ID card. Why the Real Driver's License and ID? The Real ID Act was passed by Congress in 2005. The federal law pertaining to security and authentication and issuance procedures is standard for the driver's license and identity document. So you have to get the Real ID and not have a false one. Why do I have to? Do I need to? We'll look at the next slide. If you do not have the Real ID, don't worry. I'll explain what it applies to. So if you do not have the Real ID, you cannot fly. Domestic flights, you can't walk into a federal building. You won't be able to go into a courtroom. You'll be denied. So I encourage you to have your Real ID. This is what it'll look like. You see the federal limits apply. That's on the regular driver's license. On the other one, you'll see Real ID with the bear logo and a star. That is what will be on the Real ID card. I'll explain those differences. If you see federal limits apply, if you go in with your regular ID and go show it to a ticket agent at the airport, you'll be sent home, and then you'll have wasted your money for your plane ticket. So you must go to the DMV and apply for your Real ID, so that you can travel and see your friends and family, go on vacation, and all of that. Also, you will not be able to enter federal buildings. You must have the Real ID. The federal limits apply will not allow you access into like courthouse or the Social Security office. So you need to get your Real ID to be able to go into Social Security to get your money. If you have a family at a military base, husband, family, cousins, wife, and you want to go visit them, if you don't have your Real ID, you'll be banned from going onto the military base. They want to keep things secure and make sure that there's nothing bad that happens on base. So you must have that Real ID. Now, don't worry, you're not stuck. If you don't have your Real ID, you can also use your passport. Or if you have a military ID card, you'll be able to board a plane and travel. But I encourage you to get the real ID in case you don't have the other documents. The required information must be your full name, first, middle, last name, your signature, your birth date, gender, a unique identifying number, your residence, the address, and a photograph. DMV online application. Before you used to be able to go in person and get your ID. Now that's no more. You must do it online first. Fill out the application online. When you're finished, then you can go into the DMV. Next slide. I'll show you how to apply online. First, you'll type in www.dmv.ca.gov. Then you'll see tabs on the website. The second tab says Driver's License ID. Next, you'll click on Apply ID, and you'll scroll up. You'll see the 3 requirements. The first one is having verification IDs like birth certificate, just proving who you are. The second, you'll submit online, scan and submit online. Once you're finished with the first 2 requirements, then third, you can go into the DMV. Here's your checklist of what's required for the real ID. The first one is you must have a passport or your birth certificate. It has to be the original birth certificate, not a copy. So we'll just scroll down and you'll read what is needed. You can click on what you've already got. Then you'll click Next. Keep scrolling down. Then it'll ask you, is the name correct? You'll click Yes. Hit Next. Now this says you must have 2 documents that match your address. It could be a pay stub, a bill statement. Read through this list and select 2 that you can use. You can use your utility bills, so I'm going to click on that because I do have that. Now I need 1 more. Which one am I going to pick? I'm going to pick employment documents. So now I have my 2 verifying documents. Scroll down and hit Next. Then Submit. Now what comes next, you'll just scroll down, click Finish, click on Apply for Driver's License online. See this, it says Start Application. Now you'll select what language you prefer. I'm going to select English. Scroll all the way down, click Next. And it'll ask, what are you here for? You'll just click on ID or driver's license. Then click Next. Once you've done that, you will check the checkbox for agreeing to the terms. Then click Next. Now, what's this? This says sign in. If you already have a DMV account with your email and password, go ahead and log in with that. Click on blue. If you do not have a DMV account, you can select Create an Account with ID.me. Now you'll go ahead and fill in your email, create a password. Then you click on Create Account. After that, you'll get an email with a confirmation and a code. You'll take that code and put it in and proceed, and I'll show you that. Okay, what's next? After you have logged in, created your email password, you will see this. It's like, what would you like to do today? You want to update your driver's license. After that is completed, you'll type in your full name, your ID number, birth date, your age. All of this you need to fill in. It's a step-by-step process. Just keep filling in. Fill in your basic information, gender, name. Okay, next. You'll select your eye color, hair color, your height, your weight. You need to fill in all this information. Next. Once you've completed everything, it'll ask you, are you applying for your real ID today? Click on yes. And then you want to select the city or which DMV you'll be visiting, whether it's Oakland, Hayward, Vallejo, whatever city you're closest to. Once you've selected that, click Next. This will ask you if you're ready to start the process and participate. Click Next, click Yes, and then Next. When you click Next, you'll see that you'll have to show your original birth certificate. This has to be the original birth certificate. Take a picture, submit it. Actually, you see printed and scanned is unacceptable. It has to have the original sealed by the county where you were born, the state seal. That's the one that is acceptable with the green check mark. That's the one that's approved. The printed or scanned copy is unacceptable. They will not accept it. Next. Now, when you see this, you'll see what's required. It says you must have these documents to get the real ID. There's 2 documents that must match the address on your ID. Click Next. Once you finish that, you'll fill in again your name, your birth date, your address, your email. Once you've done that, click Next. You can take a picture of your birth certificate and submit it. And it has to be 2 megabytes size. It'll accept that. It must be small, not a big file. With the 2 documents matching your address. It could be a pay stub or a utility statement. Take photos of those with 2 megabytes size, not a large file. It won't be accepted, so that's important to remember. Once you're finished, it says, how will you submit your documents? They will look at everything carefully and make sure that everything is real, make sure it's not fraudulent, make sure that there's a government seal on the birth certificate. So they go through this process. You see that it says under review. That means they're checking everything to see if you live in that county. They're doing their research. Once it says inspected and verified, that means the paperwork was accepted. All of those have to be green, meaning that it's been inspected and verified. If it's purple, it's still under review. Yellow means it's processing. Now, once it's gone yellow to purple, that means they're still researching. It's still under review, so you'll have to wait until it gets approved. Next. Well, if you see this red X, it'll say birth certificate not approved. It'll explain why it's not approved. Maybe the image wasn't clear, maybe the scanned copy was not acceptable. You will need to go down to your local county office and purchase a birth certificate. Then you can take a picture of it, a clear picture of it, with the 2 megabyte size. You don't want it too large of a file. Then you can try again and submit it. Next. Finally, you've got the green light. That means everything's been inspected and verified. Now click Submit Documents. Next. Once it's approved, you have to select a date of when you will go to the DMV office to take a photo, show your 2 documents and your birth certificate. Once you go into the DMV, you have to bring those documents that you took a photo and scanned and submitted online. Say you pick July 26th or July 20th, select the date. So I'm going to click the 26th. Once you select your date, you need to select a time to show up. Anytime 8:30 to 4. So I'll click on 3 p.m. Next. Now see this? After you've selected the date and time, this is what the screen will look like. You want to make sure that the date is correct, Monday, July 26th. Well, it says 8:40 a.m. Make sure the email's correct. Make sure the city you selected for the DMV office is correct. Review everything. Once you're ready, click Confirm Appointment. This is what it's going to look like at the end. You'll have an appointment ID number, confirmation, and the DMV will be ready for you when you go in with all your documents. Plus, you must have those 2 matching documents with the address to match your ID. Now, what to do when you go to the DMV? You will show them your confirmation code that you had gotten by email. You will show your 4 documents, your regular ID, your birth certificate, a document that shows your address, and another document that shows your address. So those 4 items you will show to the DMV representative. Then you'll take a photo and you're finished. And I'll show you what it looks like next with the confirmation email. This is what it looks like. You will get an email that looks like this. This confirmation code you must show to them. Do not lose it. You have to show this email confirmation to them with your 4 supporting documents. Next. Accessibility. If you need an interpreter at the DMV, please let us know. We can schedule an appointment for ASL or any language. Call them. Call that number, 800-777-0133, and let them know that you need an interpreter at the DMV. They will arrange a date and time for an interpreter. You must do it in advance. Don't do it last minute. Next. If you have any questions or concerns, you're not sure and you don't 100% understand the Real ID, go ahead and email info@DCARA.org or call the front desk at DCARA, 510-343-6670, the video phone. You still can't show up to the office yet. The offices are still closed due to COVID-19. Thank you.